Welcome to Colorado Inside Out Postgame, a special web-exclusive production here on Channel 12. Much of the confusion over the issuing of same-sex marriage licenses in Colorado was cleared up this week when the Colorado Supreme Court agreed to hear arguments on the issue later this year. The announcement included an order for the Boulder County clerk to cease issuing same-sex marriage licenses. Patty Calhoun from Westward, does this at least set up one final decision that's going to come down for Colorado, or do you think that even after this one there's going to be more fighting over this issue?
Oh, there'll be fighting over this issue continuing. This didn't clear up any confusion, it just postponed the confusion because the Colorado Supreme Court decision basically said quit issuing same-sex marriage licenses in Boulder. The last county that was the first county to do it, still the last county to continue doing it until we have a chance to really look at everything. But in the meantime, we're waiting for the U.S. Supreme Court to determine whether or not they're going to get into the appeal of the Utah same-sex decision. So there are so many more things going on, and it'll be a matter of which court gets to it first. But then in the meantime, we're going to have the public opinion, which is moving so quickly that probably within a few years, maybe in 2 years, we'll see it again on the Colorado ballot, and we're going to be seeing it on ballots across the country.
David Kopel from the Independence Institute and DU Law School, one of three lawyers here at the table today, but set up the table for us about legally. What is the Colorado Supreme Court going to rule on in the fall?
Well, and I think that Patty's scenario is actually the ideal one, that on the 2016 ballot, people could vote about repealing the state constitutional definition of marriage as one man and one woman. But I don't think the voters will get the opportunity. The Colorado Supreme Court is going to take the case, and I think they're doing the right thing because there's been these rulings from the state trial courts and so on, and so the Colorado Supreme Court needs to step up and provide an authoritative decision. My prediction is they'll probably rule on that before the U.S. Supreme Court gets around to it, because the U.S. Supreme Court doesn't even start its new term until October. Justice Ginsburg this week made some comments which, if you read between the lines, basically says she thinks she's got the 5 votes to create a national 14th Amendment right to gay marriage.
Craig Silverman, attorney with Silverman Olivas and radio talk show host at KNUS Saturday mornings. What do you think of the developments, and is this a win for John Suthers?
John Suthers is just doing his job, so I respect him for that. I don't think it really derails the momentum that gay marriage has. It is interesting for those of us who went to law school or anybody who studied the American system of justice. We're supposed to have separation of powers and checks and balances between the executive, the legislative, and the judicial. And now we have a county clerk kind of making law on her own. The Colorado Supreme Court says, hold up, let one of us deal with it, the judicial branch or the legislative branch. It would be good, really, if gay marriage could come into being through the vote of the people, but I think it's more like a civil rights issue, sort of like Rosa Parks. People shouldn't have to ride in the back of the bus, and people will look back and say, that was wrong, that was unfair, and the court stepped in.
Penfield Tate, attorney at Greenbridge Traurig, longtime state lawmaker. There were some arguments about the way John Suthers was going about this. Some saying, hey, he's just doing his job, following the rule of law. Some saying he was going a little bit too far, that he could have backed off a little bit. Where do you stand on that?
I think as the Attorney General, John Suthers' job is to zealously defend the laws of the state of Colorado and the United States, and he did it. And so I don't fault him for this, and I don't know what his personal views are. I suspect I know, but it doesn't matter. He was supporting Colorado law, and I think that's what he's supposed to do. But I think it's clear. I do think the Colorado Supreme Court is going to rule before the U.S. Supreme Court. I think their order, which is interesting, it was all of one page. It was 2 paragraphs. I think their order made perfect sense, telling Hillary Hall, stop issuing these licenses in Boulder. We're going to figure this out. We're going to issue a ruling, and we're going to take care of it for the state. What happens at that point, it'll probably be left to the U.S. Supreme Court to make a decision. Clearly, public sentiment, the tide of public opinion has moved in a direction where I don't think it's a coincidence that federal court after federal court strikes down these bans in every state that has passed them where it's been challenged. And I think that wave is going to continue till it gets to the Supreme Court. I didn't necessarily read Ruth Ginsburg's comments the way David did. Clearly she said, oh no, I'm not retiring anytime soon. I'm going to hang around a while. And I think she was indicating, I'm going to see this argument through, but I didn't necessarily interpret it as her saying, I've got my votes. We're going to get it handled in a certain way.
That's all the time we have for Colorado Inside Out postgame this week. Leave us a comment, tell us what you think. For everyone here at CPT12.org, I'm Dominic Dezzutti. Thanks for watching.